final stage, end game of an empire. So obviously, this is the point of no. We're already past the point of no return. So we're looking at economic weakness, lots of problems with the economy, whether that's with commerce, with trade, domestic policy, taxes, anything. We then have kind of, with the loss in economic influence, you have the loss of military influence. You don't have the economy to back up your military anymore. You can't pay your soldiers. You can't, afford to exert, to project
because
power,
all
rather.
of your money is going to maintaining
Well,
the military,
maintaining
and so
whatever's left.
there's no money going into actual sort of capital growth in industry. So, and of course that's what then
Yeah.
pays for a military. And so if you're no longer investing the money where you should be to make them to produce more money that pays for a military, and you're forced by the fact of having more and more enemies because you've grown too big for your boots. You end up in a downward spiral because there's no kind of engine of industry driving your military and feeding them and arming them, because you're just having to just throw everything at the wall to keep the military going. And it's a bit like the Confederacy.
Yeah.
The Confederacy at the end of the Civil War in America. Sorry to always bring it back to that. They had a sort of decadent, you could say, phase at the end where the Home Guard were just stealing from. So the Home Guard were, not to take this too far, to not get too distracted by this, but the Home Guard were basically the sort of local. One big family in each town would just sort of police the local area, and they were the only men that were allowed not to go and fight at the front, because they were ensuring that, they could requisition things for the troops. But of course, towards the end of the war, when things got really desperate, they would just come and, rather than taking sort of one pig out of five, or whatever your required amount was that you had to provide, they would just take everything. And so you ended up with farms that were unable to function because they were just being sort of asset stripped basically by the Home Guard to send everything to the front, which meant that the families starved. They couldn't grow anything, and so you weren't able to. This side just completely collapsed, and there was no, in the desperation to just feed a sort of dying military force. There was nothing producing the stuff that would then ultimately keep it going in the long run. So there's a sort of microcosm of that wider problem. Anyway, sorry, I'm.
Yeah, because I think also the other thing to consider is it's not all, also that's a factor, but also there's no money because there's also most likely rampant corruption in the higher levels of government at this stage as well. So
that's true.
There's like a rising corruption from the previous couple of stages, but obviously this has now gotten to a point where, think of late stage Soviet Union, where bribery is just rampant. There's no money for anything. Like every level of bureaucracy is taking bribes just to do their job, pretty much. Yeah. So it's impossible. Like in
a supposedly communist society. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's
Irony
a very interesting and complex kind of downfall, really, because I mean, again, it's a whole episode on itself of looking at the Soviet Union, but like it is a complete mess pretty much by the end. So
really, yeah.
We'll cover that in a separate time. But yeah, just to wrap this one up, I mean, just to wrap this one up, obviously this is now the breakdown of society. So you're getting, either invaded by external and other empires or kind of fringe groups. You just think of like the Romans getting attacked by the Goths and the Gauls. Not Goths in the way that you think they are, but it's like the old
my
school
Valentine
Goths.
comes riding in. Yeah.
But yeah, so obviously, this is the breakdown of society, and we bring ourselves to kind of the end of the empire.